Ezra chapter 4 opens with some pretty blatant attempts to either stop or at the very least hinder the work of rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem. Perhaps it was the noise from the service of dedication at the end of chapter 3 that caught the attention of the people, but for whatever reason, suddenly the people of Judah found themselves facing some pretty tough opposition to their mission. The scripture says that the enemies of Judah came and offered to aid in the rebuilding of the temple. This offer was, of course, not sincere, but rather designed to slow down and to frustrate those who were committed to the work. You know, whether you're at the beginning stages or well into decades of following God's plan for your life, you should come to expect that opposition is going to happen. Opposition takes a lot of forms when it comes to following God. For the people of Judah, it came in the form of these new relationships and new partnerships that they had to wade through and kind of figure out whether or not these were going to be God-honoring partnerships. What the scripture refers to as the enemies of Judah were in fact the ancestors to the Samaritans that we find in the New Testament. These were a people that followed God, but not as the one true God, but rather as one of many gods. This, of course, would have been a dangerous partnership for the people of Judah to enter in, and would have significantly slowed down the process and likely brought the whole process of the rebuilding of the temple to a standstill, because the reality was that these were people that did not really care to see God's purposes and God's plans fulfilled. So seeing it for what it truly was, the people of Judah declined the offer. So the enemies of Judah took to another course of action by trying to discourage and frighten those who were committed to the rebuilding of the temple. You know, if you're anything like me, then you'll agree that this is a form of opposition that can pretty quickly come to the surface of everyday life. You know, we start to wonder why, despite our prayer and despite our conversations with God, God doesn't seem to be showing up in the midst of our marriage or in the midst of the lives of our children. We start to wonder if our moral stance and our Christ-like behavior in our workplace or in our career isn't slowing down our career and slowing down our advancement just a little. We start to become fearful that all of the promises that God has given us over the years might now somehow not become a reality, and we start to struggle with insecurity and wondering if we have what it takes to make it in life. We start to realize that we've allowed our priorities to become misplaced, and we wonder if it's even possible now to right the ship of our lives. And when we start to believe these types of statements, we get discouraged and we become fearful. You know, as we continue to navigate through chapters 4 and 5, we're going to see firsthand the faithfulness that God has and the assurance that you and I can have that what God promises will come to fruition. But for now, allow me to remind you that every attempt to start or revive a work of God in your life is going to be met with opposition. You know, often our greatest opposition isn't what's obviously opposed to the plan of God for our lives. Often our greatest opposition are those relationships, those partnerships, those unchecked fears, those unchecked discouragements that slowly chip away at our commitment to see God's plans and God's purposes fulfilled in our lives. My prayer is this for you and for me, is that we, like the people of Judah, would learn to be able to clearly identify those fears, and that we would be able to see with crystal clarity those points of discouragement in our lives, and that we would hold tight to the promises of God, knowing that what He has declared will become a reality. Be encouraged and keep moving forward.